Well, so if lab-grown meat does become a thing, and we could grow human meat, would you eat it?
Yeah.
No,
No?
I would not
Certif-
eat people.
Well,
No.
like, it didn't come from people. Well, sorry. It didn't come from an alive human who was killed.
Certified human. What? A humane.
Long pig, they called it, Nick. Long pig.
That's a good joke. Oh god. But I would know, Brandon. That's the problem. It's not a problem of would I be able to stomach it. It's a problem of would I be able to go on knowing that I've eaten human flesh. And the answer is no.
So even if it didn't come from an actual human.
It would be weird, yeah.
Okay.
It would be a little bit weird.
I want to say that I would try it.
All I would want is the first restaurant that serves that be called a modest proposal.
Alex, killing it today.
10 out of
Yeah.
10s. Back to back.
Yeah,
He thrives on cannibalism jokes.
exactly. Damn it, I didn't pick any cannibalism shows for today. Or episodes. There's a couple, I think.
Oh, that's a good point, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, despite the fact that we've been talking for about half an hour, we're actually here to talk about everything that we just didn't just talk about.
Yeah.
So, I am Brandon.
I'm Nick.
And I'm
We
Alex.
have Alex back. And this
Yay!
is a special episode of ABC where we're talking about X-Files, mostly because I really wanted to talk about X-Files.
Brandon really wanted to talk about X-Files, and
So
I
nothing
was
to do with
moderately
anime.
okay with it. And
Same.
we had a world event coming up today, as of the date of this should release on.
Oh, I
Where,
hope so.
People are going to storm Area 51
We'll
or
see how
fail
that-
in the attempt. We don't know how that goes yet.
Or, yeah, there's going to be a national mourning in the year.
Yeah,
We'll
Day
see-
of Remembrance.
We'll see how it goes.
The
But,
NFL this Sunday may have a moment of silence. Shouldn't make jokes like this.
we shouldn't, but I mean, we are, so fuck it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I chose 3 episodes to watch for today. It was the episodes Ice, which is season 1, episode 8 of X-Files. Irresistible, which is season 2, episode 13. And then Home, which was season 4, episode 2. I remember I tried guessing what the episodes were in this episode of ABC, of this week's episode. I was completely fucking wrong. Except
No
for the
worries.
first one. Yeah, I was wildly
Okay.
off. I think I said season 2, episode 9, and then season 4, episode 1, even though I knew episode 1 is never a Monster of the Week episode, but whatever. Which brings us back.
All right.
Each episode we watched was a Monster of the Week episode. It had no kind of relation to the overall mythos of X-Files, which is usually called the mythology arcs. The mythology arc, which we don't get into at all. But we do have some nice development between our 2 leads, Mulder and Scully. And I think you guys maybe picked up on this, but the episodes we watched are about like each a year apart. And I think you could pick up on like how their relationship kind of changed over those 72 episodes that we didn't watch. But yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, a bit.
Okay.
a little bit, yeah.
But yeah, I really love X-Files. It's one of my favorite fucking shows. So let's get it. Let's talk about Ice, aka The Thing.
Are
Except
we
lower
gonna
budget.
go from
and-
season 1 over to season 4?
Yeah, season 1, then Irresistible, and then Home. So Ice,
Got it.
Irresistible, boom. Because it's, I like to keep things chronological.
All right, let's do it.
Let's
Sure.
go. Alright, quick. What you guys think of Ice? As a primer for what we were gonna watch, or what else we were gonna watch.
I will say, so
Okay.
when
Nick,
when was it that we had this conversation? First of all,
Okay,
I
I'm
think you
pretty
know what I'm talking.
I'm pretty sure it was 2 weeks ago. And
think it was.
I wanted to let you know, I didn't choose this episode specifically for you. It's just one of my favorite episodes, and I completely forgot about what happens.
Okay, yeah.
Specifically, like later on, like towards the last half of this episode.
So literally, I'm referencing. I'm pretty sure it was on an ABC episode too, about 2 weeks ago.
Yes, where we talked about
talked
some
about the fact-
parasites.
Yeah, we talked about parasites and the fact that I now don't like parasites because of a scene in The Mummy where the flesh-eating beetles crawl in your skin and you could see them like crawl up your skin and eat your flesh. And I was like, I watched a movie and
Yeah.
the beetles were super fucking scary, and so now I don't like things that grow in your body.
Uh,
So we watched Ice first, which involves parasites moving around your body. So that was great to start out with. Top tier.
Yep. Sorry. So
Beginning.
quickly, the episode of Ice follows Mulder and Scully, who have to go to Alaska and the Arctic Circle after they find that a small team of scientists have all died and perished, and they are sent to investigate why that happened. After they're kind of shown this this video of one of the scientists kind of like giving a very cryptic and like dark video warning about what's going on within the Arctic Circle. So Mulder and Scully head on over to the base along with three other scientists and a pilot. One of the scientists is a toxicologist, another one is a medical doctor, and then another one is a geologist. And we've got the pilot, Bear, I think his name is. And they'll head over,
Yes.
and then we start the thing basically.
Yep.
Nick, me and Alex watched the thing I think about a year ago, right?
Yeah.
At a movie theater, and we fucking loved it. And this episode has a lot of the same beats as the thing did.
Sure did.
Yep.
Pretty much, yeah.
But to start off, we already gave your initial impression. Actually, Alex, what was your initial impression of this episode?
What I messaged you like yesterday is like, hey, I'm 2 minutes in this episode. Is this the thing
Yes.
episode?
Because of the fucking dog, right?
Yeah, as soon as I saw the dogs, like, this is the thing episode, isn't it? Of course it is. And especially when one thing I noticed that they did was when they showed you the outside environment, they painted one of the glaciers very similar to how they did in the Thing movie.
Yeah.
Which was really a nice touch.
So they have the backdrop and the snow falling in front of it. It did have kind of a similar style to the Thing. I don't know if that was intentional or just because that's just kind of what they had to do, because they couldn't like actually probably go to Alaska to film this because they've got a TV show budget.
When did X-Files come out?
The first couple episodes came out in 1991. I believe it's season Ice. Let me check on this.
Yeah, that was season 2. 1991.
No, Ice was season 1.
Oh, was? Okay.
Yes, but I do not know when it came out. It first aired, sorry, I was wrong, 1993. It first aired November 5, 1993. That was that first year that it came.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and our character names are Dr. Hodge, Dr. Nancy De Silva, and Dr. Denny Murphy, and Bear. I believe Dr. Hodge was the doctor. Nancy was the toxicologist doctor, and then Denny Murphy was the geologist doctor.
Who was obsessed with the Chargers.
So it's the Chargers and listening to old replays.
Yes. Specifically Dan Fouts.
He's also the most lovable of the bunch. That's why he had to die first. Aside from the pilot. We know the pilot dies first because he kind of shows up and just acts like a total fucking douchebag immediately. So, you gotta kill him first. And then you kill the lovable one next.
One of the recurring things in I think more of the way that they design X-Files was there was a lot of moments across all three of the shows where early in the episode they would show you something and you'd go, oh, that's going to come up again. So in this episode we had the parasite, the live parasite that they pulled out of Bear.
Yep. And
we have the gun in the evidence bag.
We have a literal Chekhov's gun.
We have a literal Chekhov's gun. But it's one of the recurring things I noticed across all three episodes. Is there was several things in multiple episodes where they would show you something, and just in the back of your head you would know that's going to come up again.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was. I would say it's a crutch that they leaned on, but it was definitely a common sort of
stylistic choice.
Yeah, stylistic choice that they would go for across multiple years.
They do something similar with Home and the bed.
Yeah, and the car.
And the car as well. But the car's fucking rad, and we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
What was it? Cadillac Coupe de Ville?
Yes, a white Cadillac Coupe de Ville.
White Cadillac Coupe de Ville.
I have not heard that name in so long.
No top. Yeah. Fucking. It did not have the white wall tires, which was disappointing, but it was a nice caddy.
So Nick, how did you feel about the science in this episode? Basically, the biggest
So-
sci-fi thing that did happen was the little parasite.
Yeah.
Everything else was
Was
fairly.
the parasite thing? A little bit was the blood draw thing, and then they also
Okay.
had like the ice cores, which
I think the ice cores were fairly accurate though, because they don't really get too much into it. They give you just
kind
enough,
of.
right?
Yeah, they basically just said like there was a meteor strike, and now we're drawing ice cores from 250,000 years ago, and it was like I don't know, maybe that's kind of valid. I don't know how meteor strikes in the Arctic work, and you could definitely take ice cores and get old as fuck ice.
The way I see it is like it's,
One
it's
of
a
the
glacier.
things-
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, pretty much. One of the things though was I think it was in Ice. They make a comment at some point of like this parasite was around at the dawn of civilization. Human civilization, well, not human civilization. Humanity as a general concept has been around a hell of a lot longer than 250,000 years. I'm pretty damn sure.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure we have human-esque fossils from like several millions of years ago.
Is it
So-
billions or millions?
No, I believe it's millions.
Okay.
I believe the first
No,
human.
no, no. I was asking you if you said billions or millions because I couldn't really
Oh,
tell.
I'm sorry. No,
So,
millions.
yes.
I think it's the oldest one we have is 1.5, maybe 2, somewhere in between there. I think. It's been a while since I cared, but so like 250,000 years, ultimately in the scale of human existence, not super long. I'm pretty sure. But most of the science that they go into, which is not that much, was sort of accurate. I mean, they talk about like we have to have infected blood and not infected blood, and we need to test everybody, and fucking how they do parasites with stool samples because parasites live in your body, and
Yeah,
fucking
you poop 'em out.
everything in your body gets pooped out because basically the only thing you pee out is shit that's water soluble. Everything else you shit out. So that's why they do stool samples.
Everything comes down to poop.
Yep.
That's a joke from Scrubs.
So the science of it, they didn't really get into, like the hard science, but
Mhm.
from what they kind of touched on the edges of, it's vaguely believable.
Yeah. Well, I asked this because this is basically the only episode that kind of really gets into science, aside from Home a little bit. Oh God.
That home stuff was freaky deaky.
I knew it'd be.
That was freaky deaky Dutch shit.
Yeah. So Bear dies because we removed the worm from his head, or yeah, from his like neck, in a very excruciating scene that I'm pretty sure Nick like winced at the entire time.
Yeah,
hmm
did not enjoy that.
And then they keep the little parasite in a jar, and we see that there's multiple close-up shots of this parasite because it is going to come into play later. When we find out that the only way to kill a parasite living inside of you is to put another parasite in you and just have him Thunderdome inside of your
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
Because apparently they're fighting fish in parasite form.
Which
I
is
literally
weird.
thought they were. I literally thought in my head, oh, it's like a beta fish virus.
Yeah, basically.
Parasite.
I mean, that's what it was. Like when they put the two of them in the fridge, they just smash into
They
the
start
walls
fucking
until they both
Thunderdome.
die.
But
I was like, oh my god, it's like beta fish. That's why you can't have two in bowls next to each other because they just beat the shit out of the bowl until they both die.
But see, well, that's only if they're in a bowl. But if like they're together, one of them's gonna win, like probably gonna win, and the other one's gonna live. So I don't. feel like, I
It
don't
depends on how fucked up they get.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But I also my favorite act of this episode was the dog, who had a wonderful scene where he's basically just like whimpering and crying after he gets like the bug taken out of him, after he gets the bug inserted into him so that it can go away.
Mhm.
He's just wincing. It was so sad. I love that dog.
The dog's contributions to this show was amazing because they had barking that they had clearly recorded
Yeah.
outside of that scene played over top of a shot of what was very obviously, at least, you know, because I was watching for this, because it's one of the things that I always watch for is how do they use, you know, essentially show dogs. It was a shot of the dog just running and jumping on people in a very happy way.
Yeah.
Like that dog was not being aggressive. That dog was super thrilled to be doing what it was doing.
So like you have to have the camera behind the dog, and you have to like make sure that the tail's not wagging in the shot.
Mhm. And like when they go to like stick the needle in the dog, like all of the actors have to cover it with their body so you can't see what's going on because the dog has to play dead, and like you can't show the dog very clearly because it's still breathing because you can't tell the dog not to breathe and pretend to be asleep.
hmm
So like everything about it was, you know, they were trying to obscure the fact that that dog was having the fucking time of its
Well,
life.
technically, the dog never dies. It just goes to sleep.
Yeah, it just goes to sleep, but still, like its breathing is probably still
Yeah.
super fast rather than super slow, like it should be if it was
Because that boy
asleep.
is Excite.
Yeah, that dog was thrilled to be there, but they couldn't show you that, so they had a very clever shot design of like it was always behind you, and you had the barking over top to make you feel like it was a really aggressive scene. When in actuality, that dog was fucking super thrilled to see Bear. It fucking probably licked his face.
Mm-hmm.
The dog was super happy, but that was I did appreciate the dog's contributions and the way they used it.
Okay.
It was cool.
Thoughts on the characters? Because 4 of these characters we never see again ever. 'Cause they're just there for this one episode. My first thoughts are that Dr. Hodge was kind of a dick the entire time. He was the physician. Dr. Nancy, she's kind of there. Her only role was to get infected later on, basically, and then get yelled at by Dr. Hodge. And Dr. Murphy was there to die. Same thing with Bear. They were both there to die.
Pretty much.
She was the reason, though, they found how to cure people, though.
Oh, right. She, during her frazzled moment, because everything
Yeah.
is awful, she has the audacity to make a fucking mistake.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is her fault and not her fault that everything goes to shit.
So this is one of the things that I'm going to talk about in all 3 of the shows that we watched.
Episodes.
Episodes that we watched is the way that the writers use the characters and the sort of plot to create a sense of horror in all 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fair to say in all 3 they were horror episodes.
Yeah, basically. In this one we have got body horror and not being able to trust the people kind of close to you. In Irresistible we have basically a slasher film.
Mm-hmm.
And also kind of a film that kind of echoes Silence of the Lambs in a couple of ways. And then for Home, it's very much also another horror similar to Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah. And so in this one, they use the characters in an interesting way because they almost immediately have Mulder and
Dr. Hodge, right?
Dr. Hodge
they're
playing
immediately
each other.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as suspicions are aroused, Bear is dead, somebody could be infected. Those 2 are at each other's throats. And we as the audience know, or at least suspect, Mulder isn't infected. Which means you feel like it has to be Dr. Hodge. They're the ones throwing fucking shade at each other. It's got to be one of those 2, and we know it's not Mulder, therefore it has to be Dr. Hodge. And so everything he does from that point on, you see it through the lens of Hodge is infected. That's why he's super aggressive, is because he's infected. That's why he doesn't trust anybody, it's because he's infected. Everything that happens, we see through the lens of Hodge is the one who's infected in this situation. And so...
Well, to give a little bit of an opposite argument, we see that Hodge is already kind of very argumentative and distrusting of Mulder and Scully, basically immediately, even before we go to the base, where he asks for credentials. So there's still that sense of a doubt whether he actually is infected or just kind of a dick.
I would actually say that
it helps.
The reason they include that scene is so that as the audience, when you think about it again at the end, you can remember that he was immediately a dick and say to yourself, his character makes sense. He was consistent the whole time.
Yeah.
I just forgot. Because when in the moment of you as the audience are trying to figure out for yourself who could be infected in this situation, you go with the person who's acting super aggressive and isn't a main character. And so you think Hodge is the one, even though it's consistent with his character as they showed you in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say as an audience, because I didn't remember it immediately that he was a suspicious asshole at the beginning, and I only remembered at the end that, yeah, he was a fucking dickhead who doesn't trust the government.
Yes. Since I've watched all these episodes way too much, my view is different already. So I can't go in it with a fresh mind, a fresh set of eyes.
I believe there was 2 separate scenes where he constantly thinks that Scully and Mulder have way more info on the situation than him and his partner.
Yes, the first one is during the base, before they go into the base. The next one is after Bear dies, and they're arguing in the little kind of garage thing.
Yeah, and whether or not to try to preserve the parasite for future epidemics.
Yeah. And Hodge is telling Nancy they probably know a lot more than they're letting on. And we know as the audience that they don't actually know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah. Oh well, Yeah, my bad. This little thing. It was actually 3 times because then afterwards, oh hey, didn't you know Mulder? They torched the place.
Oh,
That
right
as
at the
well.
end.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have one last callback to it. Sort of as the final reminder of like after everything happens. Yeah, Hodge was a dick, remember?
Hmm.
He still doesn't trust the government. So like in the middle, the second time, we see it through that lens of he's just trying to cast aspersions against Mulder and Scully, so everything they do, he's going to be a dickhead about it. At the end, we're reminded, oh no, this is just who he is.
Yep.
So they create horror in this episode by the sense of you can't trust each other, and they sort of play with it at the very end with the one who's infected is neither of the people you expect. It is actually Nancy Da Silva, who is the most pitiful person, it's fair to say.
Yes, because she's constantly getting ragged on by fucking Dr. Hodge.
Yeah, constantly getting ragged on by Dr. Hodge. Fucking
Just
when they
wanted
do
to
the
leave.
check each other, Scully basically is like comforting her because she's about to break down.
Hmm.
When we see everybody at night, everybody else is super suspicious and jaded and feels like they're about to be betrayed. And Da Silva is the only one who's actually laying in bed crying. It's like at every turn, Da Silva looks like the most pathetic person who is at by that same level, this person the person you suspect to be infected the least. I feel like.
Hmm.
And so when it turns out that Da Silva is in fact the one who's infected at the end, it was a decent twist, and it created a fair amount of surprise in me at least for the sense of like this is actually who's been trying to get away with it this whole time is this person that you felt bad for. So I think they did a decent job of trying to create this like whodunit sort of style in what was essentially a bottle episode.
Yes, this was very much a wild episode. And yeah, I mostly agree with basically everything you said. They did a good job. It's one of the reasons I really like this episode. Did you guys see like by this point, we skipped over a couple episodes, but by this point, Mulder and Scully are like 100% like invested in helping each other. Because of the stuff that Mulder has shown Scully, which basically it involves them going to. It involves Scully basically having an alien encounter, somewhat of an alien encounter. They go to a private air force where they see like UFOs, and then a couple other things. But by this point, we see that Scully is very much Mulder's friend.
I think that's fair to say, yeah. Especially with the scene in the freezer.
Is that a freezer?
I mean, with some sort of
Storage unit.
Storage
Yeah.
unit. It's hard to say in the Arctic what is and isn't a freezer. I mean, it's fair to
True.
say anything that's not insulated is a freezer in the
Yeah.
Arctic. But yeah, and that storage facility, whatever you want to call it, or storage shack, is they kind of have a conversation of like, we're friends, we're partners,
Yeah.
believe in me. So it was also though like definitely there was an influence in that scene of like they were new to each other.
Mhm.
They were beginning to trust each other, but
Yeah.
they were still essentially strangers. But in outside of the show or outside of the actual episode, do you know who played Nancy Da Silva?
Felicity Huffman.
Yeah, who is at the center of the
Oh,
fucking
shit.
cheating on her SAT
Oh my
scandal.
god, that's who it was.
Yeah, that was the lady
What a
who
piece of shit.
fucking paid a lot of money so that her daughter could go to college. I think.
I think she got 2 weeks prison or 2 weeks jail time.
Yeah.
I remember reading an NPR article about it.
So there you go. That's
Yeah.
Felicity Huffman, who's gone on to infamy, one could say. She was the one with the fucking parasite all along.
In more ways than one. Well, that was the thing, TV episode wise.
Yeah. I did also read how they did the whole disgusting parasite aesthetic.
Oh, like
Apparently-
the crawling under the skin?
Yeah. It was really cool. I read up a little bit on the filming of all of these episodes because I wanted to know what went on with them. And so apparently they had like a parasite expert come on to like try and work with them for how to design this for a TV show. And so originally the plan was to use something called super mealworms to actually, crawl underneath actual skin and film it.
Oh god. But I'm pretty
But they
sure none of
decided-
the actors would want that.
Well, not under their skin, but like get
Yeah.
like
Oh,
an
fake
actual
skin.
piece of like fake skin,
Okay.
and then actually film an actual mealworm crawling under like some slab of skin, basically. But they decided that was hard as fuck, and so it was actually done with a little bit of fake skin and essentially like electro-controlled wires.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that was
like
how
they would have
were
the
doing
wires like tense up under the fake skin.
Yeah. So they were doing that with all wires underneath fake skin. That's why they didn't do like wide shots of anybody's neck so you could see their body in it, because there was no body. It was just a slab of fake skin
With
or
like a
dog
wig
skin.
on it.
Yeah. And in the case of the dog, it was fake furry skin. So that was it. That was how they were doing it. There you go. How they did the parasites nice.
But also the parasite that was like outside of the body, that was just a that was just a mealworm. You can just buy those wherever.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
that was just a mealworm. That was fairly obvious. And then all the other,
And then the
Mealworm.
super
Or all the
CGI
other worms.
mealworms inside
Yeah.
inside the bottle.
and the one that crawled inside the dog's ear. Oh god,
yeah. That was probably
was
a fake ear. Don't
vile.
worry.
that was not a real worm.
I meant fake ear.
Well, it doesn't matter. That wasn't a real worm.
That was a mealworm? I thought they actually used a mealworm.
No, that was a
Oh
CGI
my
worm.
god! No, yes, the one they drop is a real worm, but the thing that's actually like crawling on the skin, that was fake.
Yeah,
God, some of the CGI in this show. It is a '90s show.
and it has the '90s CGI to go with
Yep.
it.
But aside from that, that was Ice. And a quick little side note before we go into the next episode. None of the episodes we watched were actually X-Files. Because for Ice, they just get sent to Alaska because they essentially drew the short straw. And they just needed to investigate some murders or some like weird shit.
hmm
Wasn't X-File.
Yeah.
The one that comes close to being an X-File was Irresistible, because the chief of police thinks it's related to aliens, so they call over Mulder, who already knows it's not an X-File. He just wanted to go watch a Redskins game in Minnesota to go watch them play the Vikings.
Yep.
And then for Home, that one was just because some police once again the police the chief of police needs some help, and some people are like, "Oh, just go ask these two; they'll fucking help you." And
Yeah.
they just show up.
Because the body they found was like
It was all fucked up, but we'll get to that.
really fucked up. Yeah.
It was all kinds of fucked up. But
Yeah.
and another
We'll
kinds,
get to that.
Another kinds of fucked up. We have a fetishist this episode, specifically
Yes.
a death fetishist who likes to collect dead things. In the episode titled Irresistible, season 2, episode 13. What did you guys think of Irresistible?
I enjoyed it. Probably not as much as you you probably initially thought, but yeah, it was a good watch. Just because like how Mulder described it, it was the escalation of
An escalating fetishist.
of a escalating fetishist, and like how further people's fetish can like increase to like actual homicide. That was entertaining.
Nick, thoughts?
It was an interesting episode because Irresistible and to a certain extent Home preyed on a uniquely human fear. And in this one, it was that fear of basically killers, serial
killers
killers.
and dehumanization too.
Yeah. And so it was an interesting episode. And you're right, it definitely was not an X-File in any way. It had nothing to do with aliens. It was a very human episode.
It was very much just two FBI agents go find a serial killer.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, not serial killer just yet.
Yeah.
And it did have like it teased at the edges of a supernatural thing where he kept looking like the devil, but I suspect that was more an effect of how people saw him, not how he actually was.
Yeah, that was a stylistic choice on the part of the director. to
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
show
it
him
was
as an
always
actual demon.
wasn't it always Scully that saw him as that?
No, the first time we see it, it's his coworker who sees him that way.
Oh, right.
Yeah, as he comes out around the coffin.
Yep, and then
That's
Scully
right.
sees him. I think twice at the end.
Yeah,
there.
2 or
Yeah.
3 times.
I was like, why is Scully having flashbacks to Nosferatu? It's like, I have several questions.
I was wondering what the fuck it was.
But for Scully to see him as a demon makes kind of sense because we didn't watch any of these episodes, but despite the fact that like she's very gung ho, not gung ho, but she feels like of the two characters, Scully's more tied down by science. Like she tries to like rationalize everything, which you see in all 3 of these episodes. Mulder's more, prone to kind of go to the fantastic and crazy. We don't really get too much of that because 2 of these episodes he doesn't. There's not much fantastic stuff to go to because it is very kind of grounded. But given that she's kind of this super hyper rational character, she has like a soft spot for religion, and multiple episodes kind of touch on that and how does she rationalize or how does she kind of weigh her religious aspects with her like science, her duty of science, essentially, and they're all very interesting.
I never really got that religious aspect from her.
Right? Yeah, because we didn't really, none of these episodes really showed that.
No.
But there's multiple times where it is a big thing. I think there's one episode in season 2, after her father dies, where she has to like interrogate this prisoner who says he has become a medium and can like call on to God to tell him like who to talk to people in heaven. And she's like,
okay.
Yeah, she has to like find out whether he's lying or not. And there's some like fairly like iffy things that he does, which may or may not, make sense or be actual. Like it might be tricks. It might be him actually talking to God. We don't know. Because in this show, religion might be a thing, might be real. Same thing with aliens, but
Yeah.
it's just weird.
I do like I'm pretty sure I could call like a cliche at this point, or like of like a partner who is very focused on like the psychological aspects of things, while the other is like has more like field experience of things. That's why Mulder was like not really affected seeing a mutilated body, while Scully was.
Well, the episode touches on that because like she's
Yeah.
seen like she does autopsy, so she knows how to like stomach gross shit. But the reason it like just affects her more is because because she is in the demographic of people being targeted, and that's like just something new to her, right?
Okay.
That's the way I read it, and that's why it's like kind of affecting her a little bit more than other crimes would.
Then I don't know. I would have to see like the other episodes to see like if any really fucked up bodies she's ever autopsied.
Autopsy. What would be the past tense of autopsy?
Autopsied?
Autopsy? Well, autopsy is like a noun, right? Like you don't autopsy someone. You perform
an autopsy.
Yeah.
So I guess you performed an autopsy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she has that little dead kid, the little dead baby. That was a really fucked up one.
Yeah, true. But
'Cause I
that was
think-
like in the later season.
Autopsy is also a verb, past
Oh.
tense, autopsied.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
There you go.
Is it a transitive verb? Can you autopsy a thing?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
The verb meaning perform a post-mortem examination.
Oh, okay. So I guess it's just you can't really say you did it to something. You can just only say you did it. But yeah, this episode follows a death fetishist named Donnie Foster, and
Faster.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And as we follow Mulder and Scully trying to catch whoever's kind of desecrating a couple of tombs, a couple of bodies, after they find a dead hooker. Sorry, That's the only way to put it, right? They find
Very
that trucker.
strong way to phrase it.
Prostitute, working girl.
Yeah.
Lady of the night.
Lady of the night. Yeah.
No, Cyril, she's only a dead. She's a dead hooker now.
No, she's a dead hooker now. Okay. So I was watching Donald Glover stand up recently,
Okay.
and he had a bit about the fact that he was confused as to why, you know, as guys, we will eventually all have crazy girlfriend stories.
Okay.
I say this for Brandon's benefit.
Yeah.
I will
Okay.
tell you some of my own here in a little bit. Anyways, but there are crazy girlfriend stories, and I will tell mine with a sort of laughing, this is so funny, it was so weird. I laugh about it now. I'm not dead. And in the bit, he's sort of remarking on the fact that he's surprised that girls don't have crazy boyfriend stories. And he ends it by
Because they're dead.
sort of, as the joke is, because if you have a crazy boyfriend, you end up dead. And it's one of those things where at the moment I was laughing because, like, oh, it was, a kind of funny insight into that. Now watching this episode, I realized that it's not just a
Aw.
funny insight. This is a reality.
Like-
This is the crazy boyfriend.
It reminds me of the Duckworth meme where he's like, haha, I made myself sad.
Yeah. Because
Duckworth?
so we have the moment of Donnie Faster's true psychosis when it comes out, I would say, is when his prostitute walks into his bedroom and sees that it's decked out in condolence wreaths, and
That's
has,
the word. I was wondering why you'd be scared that like there's just flowers and vines in someone's room. It's a little weird, but I don't think it's like
Yeah.
threatening weird.
Oh yeah, no, those were
But-
straight up condolence wreaths.
Yes, those
Yeah.
are like.
I'm pretty sure some of those had like sashes that said "sorry for your loss" and shit.
I think it was
that's possible, yeah.
sympathy, but yeah.
Yeah, there was sympathy.
There's-
Basically, yeah.
I think there's also like a shrine with the dead shit off in the corner that we don't see.
Yeah, and I mean his bed had like weird curtains and it looked sort of like a coffin. Like everything about it was a little freaky. And so on the other side of it, in one of my ex-girlfriends who was absolutely insane, she was the quintessential crazy horse girl.
Oh god,
And
no.
it was one of those things where like for a while we were dating, I was like, "Oh, you just really like horses." And she had the odd comment here and there that I was like, "Oh, they're jokes. We're okay. I'm okay with these jokes." And so like
Did you want to fuck a
I
horse,
made-
Nick?
I made a comment at one
Oh.
point. I made a joking comment about mounting a horse. And then she, and what I thought was turnabout on the joke, made a comment about wanting to be mounted by a horse. And I was like, haha, funny. You used my joke and changed the wording around. Clever. In my head, I was like, it was a joke. And then she took me back to her room, and I saw all of the horse shit that she had. I was like, oh no, wait, you're just straight up crazy. That wasn't a joke. You were serious. This is gonna get real freaky. So I turned around and left. Don't know how that was going to end. Possibly was gonna end up with me having to whinny like a horse.
Well, here's the real question: was there a horse costume anywhere in that room?
I didn't want to look that hard because there was just a lot of horse shit. She had both blankets and a sheet with horse print on them. I was like, this is too much bedding by a factor of 2. Like, you have 2 things. The appropriate number of things with horses' faces on them to own on your bed is 0. And you have 2. This is way too much. And that was just her bed. There was a lot of horse shit in her room.
Hold on.
And I didn't
How
know how
about
to
like
deal
Was
with it.
there a saddle?
There may have been.
was there a whip?
Okay.
I didn't see one, but I wouldn't be surprised if she did have a riding crop under her bed.
Oh, so what about blankets? I feel like blankets are given a pass for like animal stuff on them, like the little fuzzy blankets.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because you got some with like the fucking wolves on it. You got some with lions, a unicorn. Like I feel like that shit passes. That's okay.
yes, but at the same time, I'm gonna judge you.
At the same time, I feel like you would have gotten rid of those when you were 10.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm going for. If you're an adult and you have like, I can understand maybe a wolf if you're Gina Linetti from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
It's the unicorn now.
There's a unicorn now. Okay, but if you have a horse at the age of 22, I have questions, and specifically, I don't want to be in your room anymore.
Well, fuck, whatever. I still have my Scooby-Doo blanket. I'm gonna keep that shit till I fucking die. Let me be buried in it. It's like
You can do
favorite
that
fucking
if you want.
blanket.
We'll make sure to do that for you, B.
Yeah. See, but she was crazy, and she was crazy from the outset too. I just didn't want to believe it. I feel like, on the other side of the spectrum was I had an ex-girlfriend who grew crazy as time went on, which was its own adventure. But if we want to go back to X-Files and not my crazy ex-girlfriends, we can go back to X-Files because that story's a little bit longer.
Ex-girlfriends for another day.
Okay, we'll save
Or just
the
afterwards.
other ex-girlfriend story for another day.
We'll leave it for next season ABC, where presumably we're not gonna have nothing to talk about because all the shows we're gonna be watching are gonna be garbage.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's for a different time.
But back to Irresistible.
Back to something sadder.
Yeah.
Yeah, Donnie Foster kills a fucker, and that kind of sparks an investigation to start. One where Mulder and Scully both have to help out the Minnesota police, who they talk about like how it's not like New York, but the Twin Cities isn't that small anymore. But I guess 20 years ago it was pretty it was smaller.
Yeah, this is Minneapolis in '95.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it was I think it's fair to say, like, the 80s and 90s, a lot of society was changing.
Yeah.
And, like, a lot of America still wanted to view itself as, like, we're a small, quaint town where nothing goes wrong.
Which is kind of weird because, like, if you look at, crime statistics, it was a lot worse back then.
But people didn't know about it as much as my suspicion.
Yeah.
Just the word didn't travel fast enough. Because, like, back then you had fucking serial killers, like, every single fucking week. And now, like, we rarely fucking hear about them.
Yeah.
Serial killers. One of the last non-integrated industries in America. We white people still have a fucking cornerstone of the serial killing industry.
USA.
I love that as soon as it came out with he's a death fetishist, they were like, he's most likely to be a white male in his early 30s. I was like,
yeah, mid-20s.
Super boring looking.
Yeah, I was like, that's cool. That's solid for my people. That right there is what we're known for.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. Oh, when he went to, like, his fucking community college, like, mythology class, the fucking jacket he wore just killed me.
What jacket was it? Well, first off,
It was like a white and black flannel jacket.
Oh, I think I have one of those.
It's like,
so
wow.
If I were right, he's supposed to be 28.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's 28.
That dude was 28 going on 40.
Probably. But yeah, I think the words they use is like mid-20s or mid to late 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the structure of this episode is that we get Donnie doing his weird shit, and then like basically right after we see the consequences of that with Scully, Mulder, and then the chief of police kind of investigating what had just happened. And it constantly kind of cuts back between those two until we have basically Scully get captured at some point by Donnie, and that's when we have Mulder then looking for Scully. And we kind of basically after that, we don't have Donnie's perspective anymore. We have Scully's perspective trying to, run away from Donnie, from the killer. But you guys know that there were a couple of like beats that were similar to Silence of the Lambs. One with like the main antagonist is kind of like this weird sex guy. He's got weird things about sex. Like Buffalo Bill trying to become a woman by killing women and then donning their skin, which I'm pretty sure that's not okay.
You're pretty sure about that one?
I'm pretty sure it's not okay to kill women and then wear the skin.
Okay.
We've got Donnie desecrating corpses. So we've got kind of that similarity going on. And then at the end, well, not at the end, but throughout the episode, we see sort of similar... We see Scully filmed in a similar way to how... God, I don't remember the FBI agent's name from Silence of the Lambs.
Clarice?
Clarice, yes. Where she's kind of... you see her and like... So Dana's pretty short, right? Like, you see that she's kind of short, similar to Clarice. We have multiple shots where older men are kind of like towering over her. We have one where she's walking into the autopsy and we see like all the guys just crowded around her. similar to the elevator scene in Silence of the Lambs, where she goes into an elevator and like all the guys just look at her. And then afterwards, we have another kind of moment where I don't know how to describe it, but in Silence of the Lambs, Clarice goes to a house to try to find Buffalo Bill, as we see. Wait, no, that's wrong. I'm trying to remember it correctly. If I remember right, Clarice is already in the house, and the police officers are going to try to rescue her, but they go to the wrong house. Right? We get that twist. In a similar vein, we get the twist here too, where we see that someone's been caught. You know, they have a history of assault, and our FBI agents go to talk to them. Presumably, it's going to be Donnie, because in the scene before, Donnie tries to assault this one lady, and then she escapes and tells a security guard. The very next scene, our two heroes come in, and we see that the person they have to go prosecute or go interrogate is just some random schmuck who tried to beat up a prostitute and then got shanked. And then right behind him, we see Donnie, in kind of a similar sort of twist, which is what tips Donnie off to find out, to see Scully and try to kill her next.
Yeah. Where he decides to target Scully.
Mm-hmm. Because she's a pretty woman. Dana is hot as fuck.
That is your opinion. So the episode is interesting, especially because I don't remember when it was exactly, but like 95 is sort of in that like time period where I associate like Jeffrey Dahmer, BTK, right, the Toy Box Killer, like 80s and 90s, like late 80s, early 90s is like the serial killing like explosion. Yeah, epidemic of like notable serial killers. There were several that came out of that time period. Where like 95 is just in that range of like the world and America sort of understands this problem that exists in our society, and it's starting to like try to come to terms with it. And so I felt like a lot of this episode sort of drew on that. Like he everything about him sort of reminded me of Jeffrey Dahmer. If you know anything about how Jeffrey Dahmer, targeted women, targeted women in like their early 20s, tried to approach them at night, fucking did it with the car, fucking clubbed them in the head. Like everything about it was very Jeffrey Dahmer-esque. Even including the fact that, again, something I looked up afterwards about the production of this episode, originally it was supposed to be not just that he was a death fetishist, he was supposed to be a necrophiliac.
Yeah.
And it was cut because it was too graphic.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And so everything about him sort of has that Jeffrey Dahmer, like, super serial killer. And so this is why I said the horror in this one is a very uniquely American human horror, in that, like, it was something that as a society we were only just coming to terms with, or like coming to understand what it was, like what the serial killing phenomena was in America. And it was so, like, the way the actor portrayed the character,
it was so good.
It was something about the way that he enunciated words,
like that like light voice he had.
The light voice he had, the way he said words didn't come out naturally. Like, he didn't say sentences the way you would expect a sentence to be said. Like, he put the emphasis in weird places, and the words came out, it felt like unnaturally slowly, but it was just slow enough that you didn't feel like it was dragging. Like, everything about it was so uncomfortable. It was such a well done part for such a creepy fucking character. And it was a horror that sort of just you felt as a viewer. Yeah, it was a human horror that you could experience even as a viewer. You understood what the characters were experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
Like a person, like someone trying to talk like a person.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting, like, he's describing how the actor was doing it. It was like somebody pretending to be a human, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody talking who's never actually heard a real person speak before.
Yeah.
It's also uncomfortable.
It's also really interesting how you mentioned, like, the boom of like serial killers, and I didn't really know about that. So that's actually both what I like and don't like about the episode. At first, I didn't like it because The guy was kind of a little bitchy when he was like, when he was going for his kills. But now that you explained that, I was like, I kind of appreciate it a little bit more since, like, yeah, the Boom serial killer Boom, and like, oh, this was a normal person who, like, a normal every Joe Schmo was like slowly like advancing to like homicide.
To add to like how the horror of the character, I love the way they played with the lighting for him, because basically his eyes almost always obscured by shadow in almost every single scene he's in.
Mm-hmm.
And like the light doesn't like whenever he's on screen, light doesn't work like correctly, or it doesn't just look normal. It's very stylized for him. He's either has like a backlight to him, so that you don't really see his face that well, or like his brow ridge is always very like forward, and he kind of always has like this kind of slightly angry look to him, but like just not enough where you could like look at him and say, oh, he's really mad. Something was just always off about him, even just the way you looked at him, barring the his weird ass way of speaking. I just loved everything about the way they did his character. It's fucking great. Super creepy and weird and fucked up.
Yeah, there was a way that he looked at the other characters, like when he was on screen with them. There was like a menace behind it.
Yeah.
Where like you always understood what he was going for, and it was never good. Like when he gets his job and he first does the delivery to that house.
Yes.
We could talk about the fact that that was weird in and of itself, but I guess that's more of a 2019 mentality.
That he got a job as a delivering.
Yeah.
Well,
delivering shit into somebody's house, and they were like, "Yeah, the door's unlocked. Just come in and fucking put the shit in our fridge." Who the fuck does that?
So I think even then that was like a big no-no, but because this is sort of supposed to be like a smallish town America, they just don't do that, because they do something similar in Home too.
Yeah.
Fucking. I know Walmart is trying to make that a thing again, where they're like, "Yeah, just buy stuff online from Walmart. We'll come put it in your fridge for you."
Fuck that.
And I'm like, "Fuck
no.
that! I'm not gonna let some fucking rando from Walmart walk in my house."
Oh, I can see the headlines now.
Fuck off. But
man gets semen in his pudding.
Yeah, seriously. Oh god, there's just so much that goes wrong with that. But no, like that entire sequence where you understand already he's already killed somebody, you understand who he is and like what he's going to do, and this entire interaction with the family is just filled with so much menace that only we as the audience feel. Like the characters, the other two, the mom and the daughter, they don't see it the way that we see it, because we as the audience have all of the understanding of who this character actually is, and nothing ever comes of it. Like he doesn't ever go after that family, he doesn't kill either of those people, nothing comes of that scene. But that raw terror for those two characters that we experience, we feel like there should have been something there because of the way the actor plays it. And it's so creepy. I mean, even when he goes to wash the prostitute and Scully's hair is weird in and of itself. Like it's a creepy thing to do, but it's not overtly like, I'm gonna kill you. No. And yet still it's just carried with so much.
Please, Nick, washing a woman's hair is the sexiest thing you could do.
Calm down, Boyle. This whole thing.
What kind of conditioner do you use?
Is your hair treated?
Do you have dry hair, or do you have fucking stiff hair?
No, do you have dry hair or wet hair?
Dry hair or wet hair?
I fucking felt dirty after that. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, same. Listening to him talk, oh my god, it was fucking just. I wanted to take a shower.
Yep.
I felt unclean. But I mean, I think that was
very much the point.
Testament to how well, how well the actor played the part. Was he was supposed to make you feel that way. And so, again, I want to talk about how they create horror in all three of these episodes. The actor and the way he plays the part is such a huge, component of this episode. Like the episode artistically doesn't need to do a lot because the actor himself creates so much of it just on his own, and the way he portrays the character. It's fucking creepy. And it's very well done. But it is an interesting take on horror, especially for a show that's ostensibly about fucking supernatural shit. There is nothing supernatural about him. It's just fucking creepy.
just human.
Yeah. They do a little bit of the dehumanizing thing with the demon, where he kind of like
Yeah.
people see him as the demon. And I
Mhm.
don't know if they were doing that as like a dehumanizing thing.
No,
Of,
well, I meant more dehumanization, that like he dehumanizes people, others, and that's
Okay.
yeah, that's what Scully's feeling, is that she doesn't want to be treated that way.
Oh, okay.
Which
I
I
could
guess
see it as that, but I was also wondering if it was also maybe a like people didn't want to believe it was truly a human being that was capable of doing
Yes.
these
also
things,
possible.
and so they wanted to believe that he
It-
was actually a demon.
Like a monster.
Yeah, it would like be more acceptable.
Hmm.
Here's a quick question: in this episode, is Scully a damsel in distress at the end? My current
No.
opinion on it is no.
I want to say no.
Because like she does everything in her power to escape, and until the very last moment, like she basically wins.
Yeah.
And like when the police officers come in to like finally like, rescue her, at that point she's won. Like she got the gun and everything. We just kind of
Yeah.
need to like to seal the deal.
Yeah.
It is an interesting question, especially because for a lot of the episodes, she does feel like she's less useful than normal,
Mm-hmm.
just because of how much like
How much
she's
it's
very
affecting her.
clearly, yeah, how much it's
Yeah.
very clearly affecting her to be on this case and see what's happening. I don't know if I would go so far as to say damsel in distress,
Yeah.
because she's not, like you said, useless. She does try and escape at the end. She doesn't just wait to be saved.
She actually ran, unlike that other bitch.
The prostitute in the
Prostitute.
hallway,
Oh no, she tried to run.
kind of.
Not really. It was
She
just
tried to do like the horror run where she probably tripped at the end.
Yeah, it is one of
Yes.
those moments of you're not expecting to walk into your worst nightmare. So
Yeah.
I can understand the shock, but yeah, no, she
Yeah.
did not. She didn't full on run like Scully did.
No.
I mean,
She
Scully
was just like
sprayed some
pressing, keep pressing her back against the wall. Like, Jesus Christ, won't run.
well, she's probably
Yeah.
shot too.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
But overall, how'd you guys like the episode?
For Irresistible,
Yeah.
I would say it was better than Ice, in my opinion.
Okay.
Same.
All right.
Irresistible, I liked the horror in Irresistible a little bit more than I liked it in Ice.
Yeah.
And since I can only evaluate them as individual episodes, I kind of have to evaluate them on the characteristics of
I mean-
how good they were as horror episodes alone.
That's how you
So I would
should look
say-
at them, because like they're not part of an overall mythology. Like they are much standalone episodes that you can just watch in basically any order.
But I can't evaluate them like Ice. I feel like maybe had more character development between Mulder and Scully than Irresistible did, but like I don't really know that that's true, so I can't evaluate like how
Okay.
much did Ice contribute to them becoming partners versus like how much did Irresistible contribute to Scully opening up to Mulder. Like I don't really know,
Yeah.
so like maybe there was more character growth in Ice, but I liked the episode Irresistible more.
Okay.
Also, Ice was a parody episode to me, so that also knocks off points.
Of what? Of the thing?
Of like, and just like overall enjoyment. It's like, okay.
That's fair.
All right. So on to our last episode, and by far one of my favorite episodes, Home. It had a TVMA rating when it first aired. I think
Not
one of the-
surprising.
Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
only X-Files episode to have a TVMA rating
Oh,
when it first aired.
okay.
And I think after that first airing, they showed one repeat,
Hmm.
and never again.
Wow.
Yep, I think it only actually aired twice.
Huh.
I'm trying to find if that's correct or not. I don't see it. I might be completely wrong on that. I feel like I remember
I
seeing
would
some
believe
trivia about
it.
it, but yeah, it was very much one of the darker episodes in terms of just subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
So, quick thoughts on Home, guys. What'd you guys think of it?
It was nightmare fueled. That was genuinely disturbing to watch.
It was, yeah, pretty disturbing. And not what I thought it was gonna be, but yeah, I enjoyed it. Out of all the other three.
So would you guys say that this is more like kind of the horror from this, Nick, stems from just like the sheer terror, not terror, but like just how kind of disgusted you are of like what's happening, rather than like
I mean,
just terrified?
It's horror on a few levels. It is at its most like obvious level. It's a horror of, like you mentioned at the start of this. It's got a very clear connection to like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and like the violent, like gratuitously violent, disgusting, animalistic people doing this kind of thing. Like there is a sense of horror, like classic horror there. And then it's added on top of it like the body horror that like
Like the like
genetic disease
Yeah.
thing.
Disfiguration and all that.
just how they're all like messed up.
hmm And then you've kind of got built like lastly on top of that, it's sort of like it's less of a horror thing and more of like a understanding of American culture, I would say, because this is the most recent episode in terms of the three we watched.
Yeah.
So this one was later in the 90s, 96. Okay. So like it was set in a small town, and like
very much a
that
small town, unlike the last episode, which was basically like a small city.
Yeah, this is actually like
yeah.
a small town, and like there's always that concept of like small towns are built on dark secrets, and this sort of plays into that of like the Peacock family is the dark secret of this small town, and so like it's that concept of at the late 90s we were sort of becoming more interconnected as a society. Like we were moving into the 2000s and the information age, or like we were pretty much in the middle of the information age in the 90s at least. And so like there wasn't really that concept anymore. It was dying off of like small towns keeping their dark secrets as secret. And the Peacock family sort of embodied that as a concept, I would say. And so as like a whole, the horror of it, or at least the overarching theme is that concept of the small town's secret and the sort of like darkness that can be concealed within it.
Yeah. So
like,
sorry, go ahead.
It was interesting.
Okay.
No, I was pretty much done with my thought there. Yeah.
Because a lot of the X-Files episodes do touch on like the encroaching of like not civilization, but like this unveiling of secrets in small town America. Like how everything's just becoming more and more open. How everything's just becoming like more seeable and knowable because of the internet. Because not back then smartphones just yet, but like cell phones are connecting everyone. The internet's becoming a thing. Like things are just becoming more like open.
Yeah, the certain peoples from small towns, like old way of life is slowly dying, and they're trying to like preserve it in whatever way.
Basically, almost exactly that. And we see that this family is super old and has a very old way of thinking.
Yeah.
So we get to go off to the wonderfully small town of Home, Pennsylvania.
Yep. And this episode touches on is about our two titular characters, or not titular, but our two characters, Mulder and Scully, investigating a dead baby scenario, and they're trying to figure out who killed the dead baby. In this small town, there is also exists this small house run by the Peacock family, and they're described to them by the chief of police as old in their ways. They breed their own cows. They raise their own chickens. They breed their own stock.
Yeah, breed their own family.
Please, Nick. He's not that open about it. They breed
their own stock. He doesn't say it in those terms, like you said. He says breed their own stock, but the implication is they make their.
The implication is that they're incestuous.
Yeah. So we kind of get the edges at the beginning of like the Peacock family is not exactly an accepted member of this community, but a tolerated member.
They're there, and like they're just
we
not willing to kick him out because they're scared what they're gonna fucking do.
we leave them alone, they leave us alone.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that's exactly what they say.
If they
Something
didn't
like
say it, they pretty much implied
Yeah.
it. Because the peacocks
Yeah.
raise their own food and don't really leave their property and aren't like tied into the electrical grid or anything. So
No.
the town doesn't care about them. They don't care about the town, and that's the way the town likes it.
Mm-hmm.
I just love like how that whole like everything before you knew their name was like set up how old this family was, this town was. Kids are playing baseball. There is a house gated by barbed wire. There, the cops saying like, "Oh, there's just like a couple hundred people here.
Couple hundred
Everyone
people.
knows everyone."
Everyone knows everyone. Folks know I never lock my door. Is a
People-
huge one that comes into play.
People still leave their doors unlocked. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, if he
Christ.
carries his gun, people start rumors.
Yeah.
You definitely get a lot of that.
Yeah.
But actually, what we should have started off with is like the first scene in this episode, which really kind of like sets the mood for what we're about to watch,
Yes.
which is like a screaming woman, and kind of cut through her screaming is kind of like once her screaming stops, we get the cry of a child. We get these like three like dark figures slowly moving in this rotting house. We see them kind of like carry like a little bundle of blankets outside, as one man carries a fucking shovel. Basically, our next scene is just pouring rain, lightning off in the corner, and we just see one of the men just digging a hole,
Yeah.
and then we stop hearing that screaming.
Not gonna lie, that entire birth scene, I thought it was fucking Leatherface giving birth. Because it was just so darkly lit.
Yeah,
I thought it was a dude.
Yeah,
I like when they showed the close up of their lady's face. I was like, that
Yeah.
thing has a mustache. That
Is
is
that
a
a-
man.
is that Leatherface? And I thought like the brother that was like mourning, air quotes,
Uh
was fucking Freddy Krueger. It's like,
huh.
is
It
this
makes you
just gonna
look like it? Yeah.
yeah? Is this just gonna be a monster slasher horror family? Okay,
I mean,
I was so ready.
it technically was.
Which could have been.
True.
Yeah.
It was.
By the way, the Peacock family, their names are George, Sherman, and Edmund. I'm not
Yeah.
sure why they would name one of their kids Sherman.
Yeah,
Seeing
I
as
was
how they're,
so ready for one of them to be named
He gets
Cletus.
it.
We'll get there in a little bit.
We'll get there in a
I did
little bit.
appreciate that.
You gonna say something?
No, I was just
Okay.
gonna keep going with what went on in the episode. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I was gonna do the same thing. You can. I'll hand it off to you, Nick.
All right. So we head back to the station and we
Mhm.
begin the autopsy.
Little baby autopsy.
Yeah, which they pull it out of what I thought was what
It's
I'm
a-
pretty sure was the police station's
It's a fridge.
communal fridge,
It's the fridge. Yep.
and they
Yep.
pull it out on a lunch tray.
I'm
that
pretty
was
sure-
Yep.
weird.
I'm pretty sure I saw. I can't believe it's not butter off in the corner.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw two right next to it 2 cans of Spam.
Yeah,
Yep, two
that
kids-
was the people's lunch was in there, and there was also
like-
a dead child.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah,
I mean, they didn't even have a morgue, so like Scully and Mulder had to do the autopsy in like a little bathroom,
Like,
which was
you
like.
couldn't clear that shit out?
I guess that's true. They could have done that.
that's
Just
why you see when we worked in the lab, we had the fridge that was labeled for dead things, not for food.
Dead dove, don't open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dead,
The
don't
fucking Spam killed me.
So we go to the bathroom, like we said, because it's the most isolated place, and the sheriff can't lock the door because he never locks the
eat.
door.
Well, the sheriff also doesn't want anyone to like see the dead body. And
Yeah, we're not in the main room because he doesn't want people to come in and see the dead body, but he can't lock the door because he never locks the door.
Yep.
People would get suspicious.
Never
So
watched
they
Is that
do-
going to come into play?
So they do the autopsy in the bathroom of the police station, and Scully pulls back the blanket so she can see what's happened, and it's basically
It's all
a
fucked
red
up.
potato.
It's a red potato with
Exactly.
like extra roots coming out of it for like arms
Yeah.
and legs.
It's one of the ugly potatoes. It is a baby who that she says has basically every genetic disease you could have. It has every variety of limb mutation, deformation, stuff is growing in the wrong direction, too small, too large. Things are not correct in every way, and this baby was going to die because of it, but it turns out did not die because of it. It died because it was buried while alive and it suffocated.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
so that is what sort of keys Mulder and Scully into the fact of this isn't just a family who buried a dead child. This is a family who killed a child.
Mm-hmm.
And what begins our investigation, because they now are investigating a murder of this baby.
Not yet, actually, because a murder like doesn't fall under their jurisdiction, or like they don't have to care about it.
Right.
What ends up keeping them there is that they think a woman was kidnapped and was raped and had this child.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And because that's an FBI matter, they decide to investigate. And at first, they're under the impression that there's a missing woman, because at this point, we don't actually know who the mother of that child is.
Yeah, they were told by the sheriff that there are only 3 boys living in that house because the mom and dad were killed in a car accident.
Well, they were in a car accident.
They believe they were in a car accident for sure. The police believe they were killed because they were in the car accident and it was super graphic. But the boys came and took the parents away, so they don't know that the parents are dead.
Just dragged them into the house, as he says.
But people have only ever seen the 3 boys around. They haven't seen either of the parents, so they suspect the parents are dead at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that there are no live women in the Peacock family, Scully suspects that they had an instinct to, breed basically, and went out and kidnapped somebody because of it.
And so they go over to the house and kind of like do some quick investigating, where they didn't go into the house immediately because they have no probable cause. So they just kind of like shine the flashlight in a couple places, and they're like, "Hey, look, there's a scissors. I'll just go in there now." And
there's scissors and a table covered in blood.
See, but like in that scene, I don't actually see any of the blood. I just see the scissors. In the scene immediately afterwards, we do see like the blood in full view.
Yeah,
they go in. They grab the scissors that are like just stuck in the congealed blood. Mm-hmm. Just like that noise of like him trying to like rip it off is disgusting and awesome. And they kind of keep looking around. They kind of call out to them, but no one answers, so they just assume no one's home. They keep looking around, but the camera kind of starts to point somewhere, not directly at the our detectives. It keeps pointing at this one bed, and then after their kind of like initial investigation is done, they head on out to go give the police officers a couple of hints and clues and evidence.
Well, yeah, they go off to give them the evidence and put out an APB on the Peacock brothers because they now have reasonable belief that a child was born. Yeah, they've kidnapped somebody, a child was born, and that person may be dead.
Yep.
And that they were the ones who buried the baby because they found the shovel and the boot prints.
Mm-hmm.
But as they go off, the camera sort of peels back to that bed that Brandon mentioned before, and we see a pair of eyes. Watching.
Wonder who it could be. Yeah.
But the APB is put out on the Peacock brothers, and
now something important. They do say this all inside the house that they should put on an APB for the brothers, and they probably can arrest them.
Mm-hmm.
It's important because whoever's like inside the house heard them. So our next scene is our chief of police is at his house, kind of messing with his gun a little bit. He decides not to take it with him and then puts it back into his desk and leaves and goes to sleep with his wife after they talk about a couple of things and how this town is changing and how it's never going to be the same. Immediately followed by not a very similar scene, but a scene where another woman is talking to a couple of men, the Peacock brothers. And at this point, like, we have reasonable belief that it's probably the mother, because she's calling them boys, sons, and tells them to, you already go do your thing. So they hop in the car, start blasting Wonderful, Wonderful, and then we get to see, the horror that happens now.
Mm-hmm.
So they head off to the chief of police house, and they bash his skull in. After he puts up kind of a fight.
And all the while in the background, the Wonderful, Wonderful continues to play to sort of juxtapose the beating that happens.
Similar to the rape scene from what was it? Sing in the Rain. Fucking oh my god. The movie was Ultraviolence, Nick.
With ultraviolence?
Yeah, Ultraviolence, Glazzies. Why can I keep using these words but not the actual book?
Clockwork Orange?
Clockwork Orange, there you go. Similar to the rape scene where they play Singing in the Rain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I remember that was the example we used for juxtaposing like a happy song with horrifying graphic scenes.
Oh, Bren, did you see what was in the sheriff's closet when he pulled out the bat?
No.
It was a Jason mask.
I mean, it was a hockey mask, Alex.
That counts.
If they intended that as a reference to Jason, that's funny.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they did. Like, there's no other reason to, like... Who in home Pennsylvania is going to be playing fucking hockey?
Anybody who lives in home Pennsylvania?
I mean, I guess so.
You do know where Pennsylvania is, yes? It's in the north.
I mean, it's not that much in the north, Nick. It's not enough where we don't have, segregation.
They have 2 hockey teams in their state, Brandon.
Pittsburgh is a day away.
And Philadelphia.
I don't know how far Philadelphia is from home.
Wait, how far did you just say Pittsburgh was?
They say it's a day away, or like a day from getting backup.
I don't believe that.
No, that's in the...
Maybe there and back, but...
No, like, if they're a day away from requesting backup. Like, they can request backup, but they won't get here for another day, probably because of logistic issues.
Okay, yeah, that's maybe
I do remember something like that.
I'm pretty sure it's pretty close to Pittsburgh, though. Like, home is on the western half of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Same as Pittsburgh. And Philly is on the eastern half of Pennsylvania. But anyways, the geography of Pennsylvania aside, we get the scene, the juxtaposition of Wonderful, Wonderful, and that baseball bat beating scene. It is intensely, uncomfortably creepy.
It's fantastic.
Something about the way, like, the fact that he just keeps repeating how wonderful, wonderful things are while that goes on, like, everything about it just feels sort of, like, extra uncomfortable. Not just in a way of, like, I'm watching 2 people die, but, like, it makes the song feel creepy. And, like, the song shouldn't be inherently creepy, but it just is somehow. And I don't know what entirely it is. Maybe it's one of those things, like, you don't think about it hard enough when you're just listening to the song, but, like, maybe there is some inherent creepiness to it, but it was very uncomfortable to listen to.
I feel like
I mean, they have it playing the whole time before then, as, like, we see Mulder in his room and Scully in her room and the sheriff in his house, like, and it's all cut together with, like, the brothers just driving in their car, and we don't know who they're driving after. It was just so, like, the build up to it, nothing was happening in those scenes, but just something about that song, and you knew what was going to go on. It just sat on you for that whole, like, however long it was, a minute and a half, like 30 seconds maybe, I don't really know. It carried so much weight of, like, you knew what was coming next, and that song playing just was haunting.
I feel like I've been desensitized to these episodes compared to how, like, much it affected you.
I mean, again, I'm intentionally focusing on what were the horror aspects of how they were presenting things.
But
so, I mean, I'm not saying, like, it affected me super strongly, but, like, they were presenting these things with the intent of this is what it was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, they were presenting that scene of the 3 brothers in the car with the song playing cut with all those scenes of, like, it was building the tension to what was going to happen.
Immediately following that, we get our evidence back, or not evidence, but our DNA test back. Barney Pastor is there at the chief's house, after he finds him dead, and hands the evidence over to Scully. She, finds out that she was right. The Peacocks are the parents, or one of the Peacocks. We don't know. Maybe all of them are. Something's really fucked up with this kid. Is the father of the baby. So now they are fairly sure someone's in that house. So like whenever they were in the house, they probably missed someone. So they have enough evidence that they can go and arrest them. This is when they talk about how they want backup, but Barney man's ready to go with his Glock.
Yeah.
This is a weird kind of, I don't know if it was funny for me. I feel like it was intentionally supposed to be a very a moment of levity. How this guy's just so amped up, ready to go on a fucking shooting spree and and kill these guys for revenge for what they did to his chief.
I found it funny as hell.
I did too.
It's you're gonna die.
I don't want to be
It
shot
was a
by
little weird.
Teak.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I fucking.
When they slapped on the body armor.
Yeah.
These don't have muskets.
Or his line, but with this puts us on even ground.
Oh
and he
God,
just walks
I forgot
away.
about that.
Oh man, Barney, what happened to you, man?
I'm pretty sure Mulder even said that was a little cheesy.
That was a little Chuck Bronson for me.
Yeah.
But guess what? He dies immediately.
Oh yeah.
Almost immediately.
He walks into the
best way possible.
He walks into the booby trap and he gets his head cut off by an axe. I like how just non-plus Mulder and Scully are. They're like, oh, Barney died, and Mulder and Scully are like, oh well, let's keep going.
I mean, what are they supposed to do?
I guess so. Yeah, there's not really much they can do.
Yeah,
but now they know that the house is booby trapped, so they cause a distraction by pushing a bunch of pigs everywhere, and they're all fucking running around. So the Peacocks go outside to kind of round them up again as Mulder and Scully search for the missing woman. There they find out that they do end up finding a woman. She wasn't really missing, and she wasn't really kidnapped as much as she lives there with her kids.
Well, they don't know that at first,
Yeah,
because all they know is they pull a lady out from underneath the bed
And
who
she's
is a
screaming.
quadruple amputee who's screaming.
Yeah.
Screaming like a banshee.
So they try and explain to her everything's going to be safe.
Yeah.
You're going to be fine. We're going to get you out of here. You're good. But Scully, looking at some of the family photos on the bed, comes to realize this isn't a kidnapped victim. This is the mom, still alive.
Yes.
And so they realize that basically this is the woman who gave birth to that child. This is the mom. Things are super dark in this family, basically.
They're fucked up.
Yeah. So Mulder and Scully go back to the window to look out at the dudes trying to round up the pigs. And Mulder tells Scully, go back in there, try and convince the mom to have the boys give themselves up, or things are going to turn violent.
Yes.
And Scully goes back there and has a conversation where the mom pretty quickly keys into the fact that Scully is not herself a mother, because she doesn't understand that, there is a sense of pride in having your sons do what's right and defend the way things are, all those good, Southerner type things.
Yeah.
Which ties into
Yeah. Even though she got super fucked up in the accident, it's okay because her kids, stitched her up real well, just like the grandparents learned in the War of Northern Aggression.
There you go.
Yeehaw!
Yeah.
Yeehaw! Save your Dixie cups. But yeah, so the one thing that we do learn though is that the genetic defects in this family run deeper than just the fucked up children. Not just the ones who are dead, but also the boys themselves have the defect in which they cannot feel pain.
Yeah, and it's in a really cool way. Because
no, it's not.
What?
The defect is not cool in any way.
No, I meant we're not specifically told. The kids have this too. Instead, the mom says, "It's okay. I don't feel pain. It runs in the family." And we're just, supposed to assume smartly that the kids have this too.
No, they tell us that.
Do they?
Yeah. She says that's why I have to have the boys take off all their clothes when they get back, so I can check them out to see if they hurt themselves.
I forgot.
I misunderstood what she was talking about.
Yeah, that was the whole point of that
just
scene
more
where they take off
confused.
their clothes and turn around in a circle. Yeah, she was checking to see if they were injured.
I think I was just more shocked, why?
Oh yeah, no, when that scene first comes up, that was weird. And also when the mom is fucking yelling at Scully was also weird. So I can understand, yeah. But yeah, no, she kind of explains it. She doesn't overtly say they have this thing too, but she does mention it runs in the family. That's why I have to check the boys.
Yeah. Anyways, we do get the setup. They can't feel pain, and the payoff where we unload on these motherfuckers, and they just keep fucking going.
Leatherface, holy shit!
Yeah,
Boy ate a whole clip, basically.
pretty much. He took several shots, but he got shot in the face, and the
Yep.
other one trips and goes into one of their own booby traps and gets a spike through the stomach or so.
Yeah. Pretty
Um,
much.
It's a spike into
But after-
a place you don't want to get a spike in.
Yeah, basically. But after
Like,
those
yeah.
two go down, we realize that
The mom is
one
missing.
of the boys and the mom are both gone.
Yep.
And the car is gone. And
Yeah.
so Mulder and Scully sort of understand that they took off. And so they put out a
APB on them.
Yeah, an APB
30
on
mile
those two.
radius.
they are putting out search warrants or traffic stops in 30-mile radius to try and find them. But we see the mom and the one living son off somewhere in some country road talking about things are going to be
Home.
okay. We're going to find a new home somewhere.
Yep,
The South shall rise again.
Yeah.
basically. I really like the way she like scooted on her little scooter. I thought it was very funny.
Just sort of pulls herself along with
She
her.
like just
little
wiggles
nubs.
with her nubs.
Yeah.
Oh god, it was weird, but I did like how at the end they kind of play on that second meaning of home, where it was both the place, like the physical setting of the episode, but also
Yeah.
it's fair to say a decent chunk of the point of this episode was the concept of what is home, and like the small town home versus the home for the Peacock family versus
The actual home.
home for all of America, that
Slash
kind of thing. Like
the home that Mulder wants.
yeah. It's like it was sort of an overarching concept in the episode was the concept of home. So it was a very good title for the episode because it sort of sets you up for that.
What is it? Oh, I think I didn't realize while I was watching it but now there's like a lot of scenes that were great in this episode, but I think one my favorite now is that pig scene where you see all the brothers trying to
To round up the
Yeah.
pigs into the pen.
round out all the pigs back into the barn because it was funny, but it was also like surprisingly humanized them. Like, oh, these brothers actually care about their livestock, and it was just like, oh, kind of makes them more human.
Yeah, I see
Yeah.
that because like they're not like, just like trying to kick the pigs, and they're being smart about how they you know
Yeah.
round them up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They got the one guy working the gate and the other one running behind the pig, like,
Yeah.
go this way. I'm going to guide you over to the other way. Get to the gate.
Hmm
It was a very,
Uh,
like, normal farm worker type chore. Like, you can
Yeah.
imagine lots of farmers back in the day used to do that same thing where they would run along behind the pigs and fucking try and get them into the pen when they got out of the pen. It was a very
Freaking
normal human farm thing.
And then they go home to
freaking,
fuck their mother.
flailing his arms.
Yeah. God, the one running behind the pigs like, just a great running motion.
So how did you guys like overall? How did you like the experience of the X-Files?
I guess I have a more interest in watching it now because these were standoff episodes, not part of the main like story at all. So,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed most of them. So, if they did this go with some side stories, I imagine they would do even better. Supposedly with the main.
The main mythos of the story is Mulder. Scully is set to go like she's assigned to the X-Files project in order to basically spy on Mulder to make sure like not to make sure that he's doing anything wrong, but to basically get the X-Files terminated because Mulder is getting closer and closer to a conspiracy that they have a hand in not negotiating but they want to keep on going through this conspiracy and this sort of cabal of men trying to keep on controlling try to keep on controlling things, and Mulder's getting in the way of this.
Yeah, and I also imagine it has something to do with his dad because I think it was in Ice. He mentioned that his family, his dad was like abducted or something like
That's
that.
home. This is the
Home.
joke about the genetic muster.
Right, the genetics.
Yes.
Abnormalities. Yeah.
Hmm
He's like, oh, none really, except for the family thing.
Yes, his sister is abducted by an alien. That is his like main. That's not his goal, but his motivation for looking into the X-Files is to try to find her. Nicholas, what did you think?
The X-Files,
Okay.
from these episodes as a whole, it is interesting. How much of a horror show is it, would you say?
If it's not a horror episode, there's basically almost always like scary things happening. It's not always, like think of the difference between like Alien versus something like trying to think of a good comparison. Kind of like a thriller, like Jason Bourne.
Okay.
Kind of like that. Like it ranges between the kind of those areas. Always with like kind of
okay.
Usually, sometimes with sci-fi or religious stuff, kind of mixed in between. You do definitely have the episodes that are scarier than some. You have episodes that are more comedic than others, and you've got episodes that are more dramatic than others. But always just kind of like a lot of the episodes do kind of carry this sort of like they're trying to find a killer or some criminal, and sometimes they kind of go off in the standoff where it's supposed to be kind of scary, similar to horror.
All right. They're very well written, and it seems like a very interesting show. And so, like, for being a like sci-fi-y horror show, it seems kind of interesting.
Even though we didn't really get much into the sci-fi with these episodes.
Yeah, we didn't get very much of the sci-fi, but like that intersection of like it's trying to do both the sci-fi thing and like some of the actual real life, day-to-day horror stuff, or not day-to-day horror stuff, but like
grounded horror stuff.
Yeah, more grounded horror stuff. Some of the worst of society, like your darkest fears sort of horror stuff. It was very interesting, and it was very well written. And I like that they kind of strayed outside their lane, or at least what I imagine is the X-Files lane in X-Files type shit in these in 2 of these episodes. It was very interesting, and I liked it. I like when shows kind of try and be more than just what they started with. Because I assume X-Files, in at least the first season, focuses more on like the aliens and shit like that, and they all came from outer space and things like that.
Kind of. Only about half the episodes are like alien based. The alien based episodes are all mythology episodes. Like within the first 4 episodes, we have, well, the first 3 episodes are like all part of like the mythology. So it's all basically all stuff about government conspiracies and aliens kind of mixed in. The 4th episode is about this Bigfoot that runs around New Jersey.
Nice.
Yeah. Which kind of annoyed me because that episode is called Jersey Devil. Even though the Jersey Devil is not supposed to be like some Bigfoot type monster, it's supposed to be like a like cloven demon with human face and bat wings and like a tail of a donkey type shit. It's supposed to be like demonic, not some monkey thing.
Yeah, more chupacabra.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
But yeah, it's very well written. I really like it as a show. I may have to give it an actual try as like a full show because it was really good.
My plan has come to be.
But yeah, do you have any final thoughts you want to say about these episodes? Being our resident leader.
Fucking love all of them. If you are interested in this show, there's like a bunch of like there's basically going to be an episode for you. We have like weird creepy people being serial killers. Like the 3rd episode, it actually isn't related with aliens. It is about a man who can like contort himself. He can just really contort himself into very small positions and like things. And he's like this weird mutated person who like requires livers to eat, but just so long as he has 5 livers every 50 years, he can live forever. So this is his 50th year, and he's looking for livers, and people are trying to find out, how the fuck is he doing this, and all this crazy shit. We have an episode with the Weeb, who calls himself Ronin, and he's got a special power where he can like manipulate people into doing whatever he wants. He basically has that one bard spell where he like talks for a minute and you can like get enchanted.
Uh-huh.
And he's also total fucking weeb. Same thing with
Nice.
Sister. We get to meet his sister later on, and that episode title is called Kitsunegari because it's a fox hunt.
Oh god.
Because she's hunting Fox Mulder. I love it so much.
Oh god.
Oh god.
Yep.
Hunting Fox Mulder.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is the worst. Actually, the worst pun on his name.
We have actually a lot of episodes dealing with like Native Americans.
Okay.
A lot of them do have kind of play into the mythology. What are some other kind of standout episodes? One of my favorite episodes deals with the Carney Festival off in Florida. With like the Crocodile Man and the Wolf Kid. They show up for a little bit, along with some of the crazy people. What else do we have? Oh, we have an episode which is about a weird lamprey human thing, and Fox and Scully have to go find it in the sewers.
Ugh.
It is disgusting. Like, let me show you what the fuck they're hunting. It is called the Host. Look at that fucking shit.
Oh god, why?
You want me to delete it?
Oh god.
I'll delete it, don't worry.
I mean, if you don't, we're gonna have to look at that for like the next 4 days. Oh god.
Aside from all that, you guys have actually seen my favorite episode. It is Jose Chung's From Outer Space. It is the episode where Mulder makes that weird yelp sound.
Oh.
That is my
yeah.
favorite episode.
Oh man.
It was like narrated by the victim or whatever.
No, it's narrated by by an author who is narrating what Mulder and Scully told him separately, and he's trying to piece together what happened.
Okay.
And he's like, he went to go interview all of the, like, not the victims, but the people who were a part of this, event.
Mm.
So you get like a Rashomon effect where each story is a little bit different from the last.
Okay.
And there's maybe aliens, but not really. Maybe it's just a dude in a mask. I don't know. I love that episode so much. And we also have one of the best villains ever in the Cigarette Smoking Man. But yeah. Did I tell you guys that I love the show?
So I called you our resident leader.
Woo! And that's, that's,
Yeah, this
That's
ends
X-Files.
the end. Yeah, our special ABC Watches the X-Files.
in honor of what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, in
Hopefully-
honor of the Area 51 raid.
Nothing goes poorly.
Yeah,
In-
hopefully a
Define
successful
poorly.
recruiting day.
Yeah. And one reason I didn't choose any alien episodes was because chances are they're not going to find any aliens. They're just going to find weird, creepy shit that the government does.
They're not going to find anything.
They're going to find
What
a
they're
bunch
going
of
to
sand.
find is, they're going to find a whole bunch of dudes in Humvees and probably a decent amount of staff for sign up for the military.
That'd be the best thing they could do for, like, just themselves. It's just to
Yeah.
recruit these fucking nerds.
That was what people were positing, was the government's response was just going to be fucking trot out the fucking free coffee or free water and fucking some snacks and a dude at a table who's like, look, if you want to find out what's actually in Area 51, sign up for the military. You'll find out eventually.
Oh,
Fucking
you
work
drink the
your way through
water.
ranks.
You're part of the army now. It's in
Yeah.
the rules.
It's in the rules. Yeah, fucking. So people suspect it's just going to turn into like a giant recruiting fest, or they're going to try and turn it into one. But yeah, no, they're also taking that shit super seriously.
I mean, they kind of have to.
They kind of have to.
You have, like,
like they're
10 people try to do some weird shit, and, like,
Yeah.
you can't not be prepared.
yeah. So
I
they're like
can't-
monitoring all car rentals in the towns around the base and all sorts of shit, like hotel bookings, and
Yeah.
government's watching all that shit.
I can't wait for like Twitter to make, I don't know, the one person who gets the furthest into and add like a football commentary meme.
He's going, and he's down.
He
And
might
he
go. Oh,
scores!
no. Nope, he's down.
He got shot. Nope, he's shot.
He's shot.
Turn the camera away. We can't show this.
Yeah. But this ends the ABC special on the X-Files.
Woo!
Uh,
Thank you for listening.
tune in next week for our
Tune
continuation
in
of
this
our regular
Sunday.
scheduled. Yeah, for our regularly scheduled programming.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us.
Anyone want to sell out to anything?
Oh my god, I'm gonna sell out to the X-Files. Please, Alex, you should have seen this coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. In that case, I would like to sell out to the anniversary of Bowsette.
Really?
Is that really today?
Oh.
It's really today.
Wow.
Of course you would sell out to that.
Well, fuck. I'm going to.
Sell out to furry porn.
Yeah. I wish I knew a good cult to sell out to, but unfortunately, I'm not super up on my present day
Let's
cults.
say Heaven's Gate.
Yeah.
They still have people here.
They still have a handful of people who have to stay behind to answer questions.
Yep.
Heaven's Feel 2 movie?
I'll sell out to fucking that one cult in Waco, Texas that got burned to the ground. That's what I said should have happened while I was watching Home. Should have done that to the Peacock family. Just burn that fuck to the ground.
They actually mentioned Waco like a couple times in the show.
Do they?
Mm-hmm.
They're not surprised.
Yeah.
It was an FBI raid, yeah.
FBI raid. It was very much in the zeitgeist during this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So shout out to you, weird Waco cult. So I remember you were also super fucked up and also did some incesty shit, if I remember correctly.
Maybe. I know they had stockpiled guns, right? That's why the FBI like tried to do some shit. Or was it ATF?
I don't remember, I'll be honest.
I think
It's
it was
been a while
ATF.
since I looked up the Waco raid.
Okay. Anyways, thanks for listening.
We hope you enjoyed this special episode. We probably won't do it again for at least another season.